Alright, so The Grudge, as the poster says, this was produced by Sam Raimi, the same guy that brought you Don't Breathe and The Evil Dead. And, yeah, this movie's nowhere near as good as those movies. Not even close. Actually, it's really bad. First of all, it is completely riddled with a bunch of flashback scenes that are intertwined between the current happenings of the actual plot of the movie, but they're not shown in chronological order. And it just ends up being really freaking confusing. I mean, all they had to do was show all those scenes in chronological order, and I feel like the movie would have made a lot more sense, but I feel like even very seasoned moviegoers are just gonna get lost in this one. It's hard to keep up. Not only that, it follows far too many characters. I mean, I was under the impression after watching the trailer for this movie that we were just gonna follow the couple that we see in the trailer. But within the first 30 minutes of this thing, we see like a detective, a retired detective, the partner of the retired detective, the couple, this old lady, and I'm pretty sure I'm not even naming all of them. I'm probably missing one. But it's like, I don't even know who the main character of this movie is anymore. Like, who am I supposed to care about when we're following so many people? Realistically, the couple that we see in the trailer for this movie, they're the more interesting, best well acted. From a character development standpoint, they're the most developed. And I feel like if the movie just revolved around them, it would have been a lot more interesting. But instead, we only see them for like maybe a third of this movie. And man, the characters in this movie just have like the cringiest dialogue possible. Like, here's a line in this movie: "I'm gonna murder us with cooking." I'm gonna murder us with cooking. I understand that like they're trying to be creepy and maybe hint at something that's gonna happen, but nobody talks like that. Not a real life human being in history has ever talked like that. And I'm pretty sure that line even made it in the trailer. I don't know who greenlit that line. I don't know how they, in the writer's room, someone brought up that line and they were like, yeah, let's go. Let's roll with it. We're even gonna put it in our trailer. I don't know. I cringed really hard. Yeah, not much more to say there. This movie's also just riddled with just the most predictable jump scares. Like, at least the James Wan-esque type movies, although like a lot of them are pretty bad, they find interesting and unique ways to do the jump scares. They are still predictable, but at least they come at you from different angles. But this one, I believe there's a sequence where there's like 3 jump scares straight, and you just see them all coming. It's very unexciting. If jump scares are the only way your movie is able to scare people, but those jump scares are super predictable, then you've failed at doing that one thing that you set out to do. So, yeah, there's that. Okay, let's go into what's the most frustrating aspect of this movie. And that's that moments where there should be a payoff are like not paid off at all. And that includes like off-screen deaths from characters that we've been following throughout the movie. I'm expecting some big horror theatrics, because these are important characters supposedly that we've been following and we're supposed to care about. But then they go and die off screen. It's just so unsatisfying. What's even more frustrating is that this movie has probably the worst horror movie ending I have seen in a long time. And that's saying a lot because I have seen upwards of 500 plus horror movies. Without exaggerating, I've seen upwards of 500 plus horror movies, and this one takes the cake for one of the worst horror movie endings I've seen. There is no payoff for the events of the entirety of this movie. Nothing gets resolved. There is a redemption moment, but from a plot perspective, it's quick and cheap. And then that redemption moment just got canceled out anyway by something that happens later. Essentially, the third act of this movie is structurally non-existent. There is no ending to this movie. Like, the running time of this movie ends. Like, the credits roll and you leave the theater, like any other movie. But this movie has no ending. It's very infuriating. I didn't expect The Grudge to be good because it's a horror movie released in January, But even if a horror movie is bad, if there's at least an ending to the story I just witnessed, I feel like I didn't completely waste 2 hours of my life. But this was bad and also just had no ending. Like, nothing got resolved. Last but not least, this may seem kind of nitpicky actually, compared to every other point I brought up so far, but I'm really not a fan of the Grudge's redesign. Like, when you think about the Grudge, like, it's at least a semi-iconic horror character, you know? But this redesign, it's just garbage. It's like if Gerard Way was homeless and hooked on heroin and let his hair grow out. It's just not even scary. The only redeemable quality that I can possibly think of this movie having is the score. It has a pretty good score. However, it does feel like a decent horror soundtrack was wasted on this absolutely terrible movie. So yeah, those are my thoughts on The Grudge. A very, very not so good horror movie. You know, if you happen to miss this one, you're probably doing yourself a service. Anyway, this has been Tyler Soap. That was my review of The Grudge. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to subscribe, and I'll catch you later. See ya.